Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla and I am the owner of I Could Make That Butt, which is my small business where I sell crocheted plushies and other small crocheted items, and I'm so glad you're here. In today's video, we have yet another market recap. This one was for a market that was a week after the last video that I posted. So if you haven't checked out that recap, definitely go and you can check that one out too. But in today's video, I have some footage from the night before, the Friday night before this market. I have very limited footage of being actually at the market, and I will kind of explain why in the recap portion. And then we're going to recap everything, stories of the day, any tips that I can think of, and of course, numbers, what sold, bestsellers, all of that. So if that sounds like a good time to you, definitely grab your own crocheted project or other hobby project and let's jump in. Hello and welcome to a Friday before the market. These vlogs are going to be real random. I can already feel it. I feel like it's going to be combined like market recap and getting ready for a market because filming has like just not happened, and also this is now my second Saturday in a row with a market. So yeah, it's been chaotic, but we've been restocking and also stocking like a little bit more than what I had last Saturday, which is good. If you have not watched a market prep vlog or anything like this, or if you haven't seen the Friday night before a market, it's a little bit chaotic. A lot happens because I unfortunately have to be a little bit more last minute with some things because I still work a regular full-time job. Things get pushed literally to Friday evening before markets, but it will all be fine. It will all be good. So one thing I just remembered while I was recording this exact clip is I need to reprint labels because we threw all mine out for price tags. We threw all mine out last week because of the rain and the humidity. They just were not going to last another week. So I need to remind myself, and so I'm going to use this video to do it, to print out more tags for pricing. So I will do that also. But currently it is about 5 o'clock. And I have been working on finishing this pop mushroom because I'm going to do at least one, if not two, in red, because the red's usually pretty popular for mushrooms, but I also do want to make some mini pops, and so I'll do probably more of those in red. So it just might be this one, and I might bring the yarn for tomorrow to work on more. And then I also, my bag project, or my purse project for this week has been this cat. So I know you cannot tell it's a loaf cat right now, but I need to add the eyes and whiskers and stuff, and then I need to finish it. So I'll do that tonight also. As always, I also have a very unrealistic list of things that I would love to crochet tonight because that's also a Friday night tradition, is my list is just insanely too long and it's not going to get done. I also already ordered food. If you've ever seen these Friday before a market vlogs, you will know that I do not cook on Friday nights if I have a market the next day because we cannot take that kind of time. And also, normally I order from the hibachi place in town, and that was no different tonight. So, let's see. Once I finish this, I'm looking at the notebook with the beautiful list of my chicken scratch that I just have scribbled down everything I kind of want to make. So if I'm looking down, that's why. But I want to finish this red popping mushroom. I want to finish the orange cat. I did also have a black cat on my list, but I do have one currently. So if I don't get to that, that's fine, and I can bring yarn to make another one tomorrow. Cats are usually pretty okay to kind of do like a stop and go. It's why it was a purse project this week, because obviously I couldn't work on it consistently. So like when I had moments in my purse, I was working on it. It's kind of easy to pick up wherever I am. So that's good. I do want to make, oh geez, real close to my face. I do want to make at least one more angry pickle. That should not take me long to do. I would love to make like 4 mini pops. I'd love to just take an hour and just like make as many as I can in that hour. And then I would love to make another pastel bee. I would love to make more than one, but if I can make one, that would be fantastic. There's a lot more on this list that I also want to make, but I think if I can do those things, we'll be in an okay spot. I do need to bring down all my display things for tomorrow that are currently upstairs. I want to make sure that all gets organized. I think I'm going to stick with the 2 tables that I've been doing. I don't feel like I have enough inventory right now for 3, and I'd rather just play it safe with like what I know and do it that way. I liked my setup last week. I'll probably do something similar for tomorrow, so that's good. The only thing I'm like torn about is I might do 2 6-foots instead of the 6 and the 4, because I really don't like my 4-foot table. But I just have to grab the other tablecloth, which I can do. That's not a big deal. So that's kind of what I'm toying with right now. Not a huge decision. I just have to like figure out what I'm putting in my car in the morning, because I'll pack my car in the morning. I've already decided I'm not doing that tonight. It's supposed to be a little gloomy. It's sunny now, which is great, because this morning it was gloomy. It did not rain, but it was a little overcast. So I'm hoping that this sun goes into tomorrow. I would love to do a market where I'm not in the rain at all during setup, during breakdown, whatever the case. And then it's supposed to rain tomorrow night. And that's fine. It can rain tomorrow night. I would just love it. The market tomorrow is only 10 to 2. So it just needs to hold off until like 2:30, and then the skies can open. That's what I'm hoping. So fingers crossed for decent weather. But I'm going to stop yapping because this clip has been all over the place. And also I decided to make a bold choice and hold my phone while doing this. And so now I'm trying not to shake. So the next clip you see, hopefully it'll be more stable. Okay. See you soon. Okay. Checking in again. It's about 6:45. I've eaten. Oh my goodness, the lights behind me are crazy. We finished this cat and this popping mushroom, and I'm starting to bring things downstairs. So we're on a good path. I also, my goodness, this lighting is crazy. Did print out tags. So that will go with the stuff I'm bringing down right now, which is great. So we're checking things off. I do also need to, the next round of stuff I bring down will have my cash box in it, and I need to count that and make sure I'm good. I mean, at this point, I have to be good because the bank's closed. But I purposely didn't deposit cash from last week, so I still should be fine there. And then I have to find that 6-foot tablecloth, because I think I am going to go with 2 6-foot tables. So yeah, so that's where we are. Once we're done with that, I think I'll start the mini pop hour and then see what else we can get done. I feel okay. I don't feel as stressed. I do have, like at this point, I have to add these to inventory, but at this point, and I will give like a final number of what I have, we have around $1,500 of inventory, which is honestly where we've been sitting for all of these spring markets. And then after this one, I will have 2 weeks before my next. And then after that one, I ended up signing up for one for early June. I'll have almost a month for like my big market to prep. So I feel good about that. I do need to, after tomorrow's market, start looking and filling in a little bit more for summer. I have one in August, but I do need to figure out at least one for July. I have one email in for a market in July, but I'm going to see if there's others that I can do now that more are like popping up. And then I also want to start applying for fall things. I did get an email about another big one that I do in September with the application, so I'm going to fill that out after this market's done. So we're on a good clip to keep going. I don't know if we'll hit 20 markets this year. I know if you watched my goals video for 2025, that was one of my goals, was to do about 2 markets a month from March to December. So that'd be about 20. I don't know if we'll hit that number, but I think we could probably hit 15. And I feel pretty good about that because also what I'm realizing and recognizing is that if the market is worth it, then it's okay if there's more space in between because I'll probably end up making more at a more worth it market than some of these other smaller ones that I've been doing. But we'll see. We're gonna see. This whole year, honestly, we're kind of assessing and reassessing some. We're putting in some new ones. We already took out some old ones from last year. So we're just trying to find that like perfect like balance of what markets make sense. So yeah, so hopefully tomorrow's is going to be good. I have a good feeling about it. And yeah, but that's all for now because I have to bring down the rest of this stuff and keep crocheting. So see you soon. All right, good morning. It's 7:30 and I'm sweaty and I'm about 10 minutes behind. Woohoo! But only 10 minutes and really it's okay. I still will have plenty of time to set up. But we could start getting there at 8. So now I'll probably be closer to like 8:15, which is fine. That's fine. The people that want to be there like bright and early can get in and then maybe there'll be a spot for me to unpack. That'd be great. It's only like 60 degrees out, but I just hauled all of this stuff, including I had to re-put together my tent because last Saturday I had left it in the garage to dry. Like, so I had left the tarp part of the top, like the canopy part. I'd taken it apart and kind of like laid it out so it could dry. And I never put it back together. So because of that, that's what I did first at like 7 this morning. So now here we are. I'm going to keep this clip very short because we need to go. But I never checked in again after last night. So I was able to make, I think I made 2 more like the mini popping mushrooms. Finished the cat. I think I did another regular popping mushroom. I ended up fighting with the washer in my house. So that took a solid like 45 minutes. I was not expecting to. So that delayed me a little, and then I ended up just calling it like 10:20. I was like, what I have is what I have. So we have, I believe the last I checked, about 120 plushies, and then we are around, I think it was like 1522 for inventory. So this booth fee, forgot to look. Darn it. I will put it, I'm sure I will say it in the recap of how much it was. I think it was around that like $50 range for this one, and it's a very nice day. Hopefully it stays that way. It's supposed to be a really popular event, so obviously we want to make the booth fee back. Even if it was $100, we'll say $100 just for fun, and then we're gonna go for a reach goal of 600. Let's see. All right, I gotta go. Bye. See you at the market. So that's all the footage that I had prior to the market. If you noticed, the last like kind of booth through clip was like halfway through. That's because cleanup slash teardown got a little bit chaotic, and I'll kind of go into a little bit of that. So I didn't get an after booth picture or video, but I will say it was pretty similar. I think a few more things had left at that point at the end, but nothing where you'd be like, oh my gosh, it's empty. It wasn't that, spoilers. But we did do pretty well at this event. So this event was on the first Saturday in May. It was in a town that was about a half hour away from me. It was a kind of spring fest put on by their Chamber of Commerce, which was fun. There was a lot of different family activities, a lot of kid activities. So it was very well attended, and it was from 10 to 2. So we were able to get there to unload starting at 8, and I shot to get there for like 8:15, 8:20, and found the coordinator, found my spot, lugged everything over, and kind of just set up from there. I usually tend to, especially when I go to markets by myself, which does happen more often than not, I do like to put up my tent first if possible, and like put up at least one table to then put stuff on top of, or I'll bring over my chair, put stuff on there, whatever the case, maybe just to make the setup process a little bit easier to find everything. And that was able to happen this time as well. And then we just had to move our cars once we had fully unloaded. And what I like to do when coordinators ask for that, because that is a common ask, is that you're unloading somewhere close to where the market is, and then they want those spots for patrons, which totally makes sense. So usually I make sure everything is in my spot, and I can set up the tent and table before I move my car. I will. And then I'll move my car, so then I don't have to worry about it, and then I have however much time left to just set up my space. I find that works for me and my anxiety. I also will usually, once I park my car, that's usually when I'll bring in, like if I brought a yarn bag, my cash box, my coffee usually, I'll carry all that over with me from the parking spot. So I didn't necessarily leave that out with all my stuff, but everything else I just leave. And knock on wood, it's worked out for me. But yeah, so a pretty normal setup process. I was positioned in it was in a parking lot where the vendors were, and then the next building over had all of like the activities. But people were parking next to where we were, so they had to walk through the vendors in order to get to those activities, which was good. And where I was positioned, almost every family had to pass by me just because it was the quickest route to get to the other building. So that was also nice because I was seen by a lot of people. How they had it set up was there was kind of like a perimeter of vendors, and then there were like clumps of 4 kind of in the middle, but it was still creating like aisles. So I was in one of those clumps of 4. So my neighbor that was like right up behind me was super nice. We talked a lot during the market. The one directly next to me, he kind of kept more to himself, which was totally fine, but like it was a very typical traditional kind of experience of setting things up, which was wonderful. The weather also, for the first time in forever, it felt like, was cooperative. It was sunny. It was actually so sunny that I got a little sunburnt. Just a little bit. I did forget sunscreen because I've just been in so many rainy markets. And but it was nice. There was a breeze, but it wasn't like a wind where you were nervous about your stuff moving. My weights were fine. At least like during the event, that was all great. In terms of breakdown, why I didn't get more of footage was all of a sudden, like right towards the end, the wind started to pick up. it ended up raining later that day, which we had all seen like that was going to happen. But the wind decided to come first, and I watched not one, but 2 tents fly. And so I got very worried. And so I like lowered mine to like half height so that I could kind of clean up from there. And footage, getting that, not the top priority. I was like just trying to get everything down so that I didn't lose anything. So that part was a little stressful, but that was just because weather. But yeah, but other than that, I mean, I was able to actually pull in my car for cleanup, which was nice. So I got everything down, consolidated. I ran to go get my car and I brought it over to then load everything in to be able to get out easier. So that was nice. So, I mean, the organization of everything was great in my book. This was their second year doing this festival, and it apparently, I had found out from my neighbor that was behind me, grew like exponentially from the first year to the second year. Just because apparently last year everyone was just in this one parking lot that we were in, including activities and games and food and everything. And the fact they were able to spread out, they had a lot of vendors, was great for them. So yeah, no, all good things. But let's get into numbers because I know that's why you're here. If I look down at all, it's because my computer's here and that has my spreadsheet with everything. So I'm going to have to refer to that in order to get accurate numbers of everything. Also, these numbers, it's not necessarily the exact order everything sold in, but this is everything that did sell. So first, I'm also going to be looking over here because that's where I have all of the inventory that I'm pulling so that I can show what sold. So I'm going to be looking in different directions, but I'll be talking this way, hopefully. So first thing was a rainbow bee. This is a Crochet by Jenna pattern. You can find it on YouTube. I will link everything down below in the description box. Also, if you have ever seen one of my market recap videos, some of these products are going to look really similar. These are just the products that tend to sell really well for me. So they are often next to me when I'm presenting for a market recap of what sold. But rainbow bees, one of them sold. Crochet by Jenna's pattern is for a traditional bee, but I just do the math to figure out how to kind of break up this pastel rainbow and then just use the same pattern for making these. So I sold these for $12. Then I sold 4 axolotls. So this is also a Crochet by Jenna pattern. This is a paid pattern that's on her website or her Etsy. And it's all one piece, and then you just surface crochet the gill at the end. But I really like these guys. I like the size of them. I do a bunch of different color combinations. This just happens to be one that I grabbed. I also have another one right here that I just did this morning that I can also show. Woo. But 4 of these sold, and I sell these for $12. Then mini pops are right next to me. So this is a cable and canvas pattern that's on their YouTube. And it's just a small like fidget, and I usually have one behind my area with me, like at the table, because in my normal spiel, when I'm kind of going through they can pick anything up, I'll answer any and all questions. I do normally say also that both the mini and the regular mushrooms, they pop like a quiet fidget, and then I show myself doing it also, so then they can try it as well. Because sometimes when they're just sitting in their little container, you can't really tell like why you would want to have them. And when people start to fidget with them, they're like, oh, those are cute, I might need one. So I sold 4 of these. I sell these for $5 a piece. And then one of our best sellers of this market was the Tank Turtle pattern by Mel's Crochet Creations on Etsy. And again, if you've seen my other videos, you will have seen this guy. I make them in a bunch of different color combinations similar to the axolotls. And then I make these baby safe because I just embroider on a slant for the eyes. And so there's no like limit in who can buy these. And so I sold 5 of them, and these sell for $8 a piece. Then I sold a pickle. Traditionally, I usually sell at least 1 pickle per market, usually to a patron who like knows like, oh my gosh, I need that pickle, and then they buy it. I don't know what it is about pickles, that people are just very matter of fact, I'm gonna get one, which is great. This is an Instagram pattern by Vanilla Grainy, and I sell these for $12. Then birds. So birds have been really popular for me this spring. At this market, I sold 4 of them. I don't fully remember which types they were. I'm assuming it will be a mallard and an eagle. Those 2 usually do pretty well for me. And then I have like other random birds that people gravitate towards. So this is just one I have left over. This is an Annie Caraway art pattern on Etsy. And this is all, it's all just like one piece. And then there's obviously like color changes throughout, and then you have to embroider on whatever kind of beak they have, but they come together pretty quickly and they're really cute. And I sell these for $15 a piece. So I sold 4 of them at this market. Then I sold 1 pop mushroom, so the bigger version of the mini pops that I sell. Also cable and canvas. This is a paid pattern on their Etsy. I generally don't keep one of these behind with me. I usually just keep a mini pop just because I usually have more of those than these. But I will also like put them in a place where I can pick one up and show it if people have questions about that as well. And then I sell these guys for $12. And then the other bestseller for this market were loaf cats. So just like the birds, this is also by Annie Caraway Art. This is the popular pattern that's been around for a while now. These do still sell well for me, so I still have them out, and I like making them. They're relatively quick to make. I have another one here too because I just made these 2 recently. So I like doing them in the different colors. I do tend to make them in more like realistic cat colors. Sometimes I'll do like a couple like fun ones, but for the most part it's in like a more neutral type color because I just find they sell better. But yes, so Annie Caraway are on Etsy, and I sell these for $20 a piece. And then I sold a teddy bear. I believe the one I sold at that market was pink, but it's the one that looks like this. And I just made this one this morning, so I just happened to have one because, spoiler, I was sold out of teddy bears before this morning, and I finished this one. But I have this one to show now, and this was from a free blog pattern. Again, I'll link everything down below. It's relatively simple to make. There's a little bit of sewing. I do make mine fully baby safe. I embroider all the details just because I do find that these tend to go towards a younger audience. But in these, you pre-crochet the legs and the arms, and then they get crocheted into the body. And then you do the head separate and you sew that on. And then you make the ears and like the muzzle part separate, and then you sew those on. And then you embroider. So it does take a little bit of time, but not as much time as you would think. And I sell these guys for $25 a piece. Then scrunchies. So I sold 2 of these. I desperately need to order more velvet yarn because I am very low on scrunchies because I tend to never prep them. I like had prepped like a bunch 6 months ago, I want to say. And in all of my prepping for like these markets, I just haven't been. And so I'm just like down to, I think, like 5 or 6 left. But they are good to have on your table. This is like the typical scrunchie pattern. I personally follow Passionate Kelsey's video, which I will link below, just to get that scrunchy look. But they're relatively quick to make, and I sell these for $4 a piece. So I sold 2 of them at this market. Then I sold a whale keychain. So this is an all from jade pattern for the actual whale, and then I just added the keychain to it. I sell these for $6 a piece. If you've been around for a few videos, you will know that I turned all of my whales and mini octos into keychains, and I do think they are still selling. So then I sold a regular bee. Here's the regular bee. Again, Crochet by Jenna. Same pattern as the rainbow bee. Where is it to compare? They're the same size, the same exact pattern. It's just I do the math to do the coloring as opposed to just following what she does in her video for the regular color change. So bees tend to do well for me still, which also kind of surprising because I know they were like more of a trend like 2 years ago. But I still sell them, so I'll still make them because I like making them. They're easy enough to make. Then I sold a dumpster fire. This has the it's fine, everything's fine on the back. And I'm down to only 1 of these left, so I have to make more. This is a combination of 2 different patterns. I will link both down below. The majority uses the one with the base that looks like this. And then the other one I used for the flames because I like the flames a little bit better. And I happened to buy both when I was looking for dumpster fire patterns, so I might as well utilize both. But yep, and I sell these for $15 each. And then the last type of item I sold was my crayon. I sold 1 crayon for $20. This crayon is part of a back to school pattern bundle from Not Monster on Etsy. And even though I had to buy the bundle, I've made the pencil pattern and the marker pattern also from that bundle. But I do the crayons the most because they just sell really well. And like in some markets I sell none. Some I sell 1, but they always get eyes on them. People are usually drawn to my booth because they see them, because they're different. And I do sell a decent amount of them like throughout the year. I really play up the fact that they're good reading buddies, like for teachers, like teachers' classrooms or kids' own libraries. I get a lot of kids that comment that they look like the crayons from The Day the Crayons Quit, which is a picture book. So I lean into that as well. So I really do like this pattern. It works up fairly quickly and it's all one piece. You have to color change, but it's all just like one. I don't have to sew anything else, which I really do like. So yeah, so I do recommend that pattern as well. Well, those are all the different kinds of things that sold. In terms of numbers, the total amount of items that sold were 32. So because there were multiples of the different things, we ended up selling 32 items in those 4 hours, which is not bad. And in terms of money, I did $144 on cards, $150 in cash, and $88 in Venmo, which is a grand total of $390 for the day. So really solid. I was very happy with that. Also, I don't think I said this before, but the booth fee was $35 for this event. So a really reasonable fee for 4 hours. So that meant that actually, if you subtracted that, it was a $355 take home. That is generally the number that I give, is just the total made minus the booth fee. I know there's materials and taxes also, but that's just kind of the overview that I generally report on. So that's very exciting. I will say, in terms of whether or not I will do this market again, I did really like my experience there. I will say, in terms of other crocheters that were there, there was one other that was mostly crocheted plushies, but we did them in slightly different styles. And I knew she was going to be there because the coordinators had put out not only a map of where everyone was, but along with all like the vendor names. So you were able to kind of like do some Googling to figure out who was who, because not every person's business name tells you exactly what they make. Me, as one of the main people, if you read I Could Make That Butt, you don't know that that's crochet. So I do usually, if we get a list, I do usually do a little bit of research ahead of time just to see how many other crochet artists there's going to be there. So I knew that she was going to be there. What I didn't know was one of the vendors who was primarily selling ribbon wreaths, which are really popular at markets, was also selling crochet plushies. She had like a table of them. Now, she made adorable cows, so good for her, because I saw a few people that had bought them and they were super cute, and I was like, that looks like a lot of work that I don't want to do. So that was fine, but that was the only other one that was there. So for there being like probably 35 to 40 vendors total, for only 3 of us to have crocheted items, really not that bad. And there were a ton of kids, so I think we did, I hope we all did like fairly well in terms of that. I was definitely in probably one of the better positions. You could see the other like main crochet artist, you could see her like when you like first came in from that parking lot, like she was facing out towards that parking lot, so she was seen first. But because everyone had to pass by me too, I also got a lot of eyes on my booth, because often as they were walking to the other activities, they were turning to look and would see me as well. So I definitely think that was good. So I would do this event again. They are already talking about things they want to improve upon from this year to next year. They had made improvements from the first year to this year. They had sent out like a week after the event a Google form. They made one specific for like vendor feedback, and then for volunteer feedback and for guest feedback, so that they can kind of collect all of that information to make improvements. My real only thing that I said on there was that they did have a lot of volunteers, but the majority of them were over in the activity side, which made sense. But I, through the whole 4 hours, never saw one, or no one ever came up to my booth to say, hey, do you need a bathroom break or a food break? Because I was like one of the vendors that was by myself. And so that was like the only thing I said, was that maybe the volunteers could go around to the vendors just a little bit more, like have like specific volunteers for that, at least like in the middle of the day. The other thing I said to them was actually more of a positive. I think they could have run this event till 3. This was one of the first events that I've been to in a while that nobody packed up early. There were still people walking through at like 1:55 and were still buying things that we all actually didn't end up starting to break down until like either exactly 2 or even like 2:15, because there were still people walking around. So I think they could have actually extended these hours, especially if they're going to have that many activities. I definitely think this event could be a little bit longer, which is great for them because that's more of a chance to raise more money. So that was the other feedback I gave. But overall, I thought it was a really good day. I was very thankful that the weather like worked out for us. And yeah. So I think that's going to do it for this recap video. If you have any questions about any products that I had or just markets in general, definitely leave them down in the comments down below and I will definitely answer them. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to this channel. I tend to do market recaps like this one, market prep vlogs, other challenges, kinds of things, different crochet content on this channel, and I'm trying to get even more consistent with posting, and I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of this year, so your subscription can help me achieve that goal. So I very much appreciate it. I appreciate everyone who has already subscribed. It is crazy that we are almost to 500 subscribers. So thank you, thank you, thank you if you are a returning subscriber. If you want to see more behind the scenes type of content, I am trying to be better at social media. I have both a TikTok and an Instagram at I Could Make That But on both platforms, so you can give a follow there. If any of the market prep footage at the beginning of this video you found was adorable and you felt like you also needed one, then you can go to my website, which is www.icouldmakethatbutt.com. I sell some of my plushies on there, including some of those that we saw today. And with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!